Hey YouTube, I'm just going to run a quick one here. Check this out. This is something I posted to my Facebook yesterday. Contactless payments jump 40% as shoppers fear germs on cash and credit cards. We've seen other businesses that have said no cash. We've seen, all kinds of organizations saying that they want to get rid of cash and go all digital. Um, you know, and here's the key word. What's the key word out of this um, title here? That's what they want out of everybody. So here's something that's been going on recently. Meat shortages coming as. Oh, you know what I saw this morning? Um, Coronavirus is an anagram for carnivorous. um, I'll show you something in a minute. Meat shortages are coming as carnivorous shuts down packing plants. So they're starting to shut down a lot of packing plants. I guess Tyson's shutting down some stuff. What is it? Smithfield, which is a Chinese-owned meat packer, they're closing down. Um, so a lot of this is leading to controlled famine. Obviously they're doing this on purpose because they want to control people. This is the wonderful Mr. Kissinger. Control oil and you control nations. Control food and you control the people. So, this is all by design. I don't know what you've been watching, but all kinds of people have been exposing that this whole thing is not about a virus, it's about control. It's about redirecting who controls this economy, what controls this economy, what they're able to put into place. Over 30 million Americans have lost their jobs in the last 6 weeks. You have to understand that this is a form of forcing people to trust the government, forcing people to make the government their provider, so that when the time comes that you don't have food, you don't have a job, you don't have income, you don't have the money to pay your rent, so they send you stimulus checks, you don't have all these other things, and then the government becomes your God. The government becomes your provider, and you do what the government says because the government says, if you don't take this chip, if you don't take this vaccine, you don't eat, you don't work, you don't have access to the grocery store. I said in my last video that Walmart had facial recognition set up in their self-checkout, and none of this is by coincidence. Like, how is it that they are going through this whole rebuild, restructure sort of thing during this virus? Because they knew this was coming, and they're setting up to put those control systems in place. Like, it all started, back in 9/11, Patriot Act, and I grew up in Washington, D.C. area where I grew up near an international airport, and the TSA and their systems that they put in place, it was designed to create conformity so that you go through this line, you stand in this thing, you let them pat you down, even if it's in your private places, and take x-ray pictures of you that, only your spouse should see, right? And they're creating this conformity mentality that if you go against this system, we're going to make your life terrible. We're going to hold you up. We're going to inconvenience you. We're going to take your stuff, take your time, take your convenience. And it's all by design that they want you to conform. I'm going to look up a picture here and put it on screen so you see what I'm talking about. I can't spell it right, but I'll get there. Um, you know, They want you to conform. They want you to not fight back. They want you to go along with what you're told. And those that resist, they're going to squash that. I mean, look at how they've treated churches in the last 2 months. People that have even tried to go and have these parking lot services, they've issued tickets. They've said you can't even have online worship because it's like they've tried to say that wind instruments are spreading the virus. Like, do people believe this stuff? It's astonishing. So earlier in the video, I said that there was an anagram for this thing that we're currently going through, and it caused me to think of this. An anagram, I'll show you here. Just a moment. Just a moment. That's the lady from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Just a moment. I'll put this on the screen so you can see what I'm doing, because it works better that way. The only word that is a 100% anagram for this. I was reading something this morning, and I was like, that's got all the same letters. I wonder if it's a perfect anagram of that. So, with that, I say this: casting all your cares upon him, for he cares for you. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walks about seeking whom he may devour. That's exactly what's going on here. Who is going to give in to this? Who's going to listen to this instead of listen to God? Because faith is the opposite of fear. And a double-minded man should expect to receive nothing from the Lord. That's James. You know, double-mindedness, you cannot be in fear and faith at the same time. You either trust God or you trust this government, and it's going to lead people to a lot of bad decisions when you trust the wrong system. So Jesus has the ability to provide for your needs. Watch my last video if you haven't seen it, because I shared a crazy story about how God protected me in a very scary situation. So, you know, he says you're more valuable than many sparrows, that you shouldn't worry about your life, be anxious for nothing. You know, we need to get this attitude, because the time is coming where this world will not play nicely with Christians. And if you don't have a supply system set up with the Lord, if you don't have it set up where he is your trust, where he is your provider, and you listen to this and you do what the government says, the government is going to do this to you. Don't do that. Don't go there. Jesus is Lord. The Bible's true. And it's funny that a 2,000-year-old book is happening right in front of us, and people don't get it. I mean, this stuff was all written because he declares the end from the beginning. God knew all this before it ever showed up. So if you can trust him there, trust him for everything. Jesus is coming. God bless.